This is a Willets Point Shea Stadium-bound 7 express train. The next and last stop is Willets Point, Shea Stadium.
Oh, yes, it is the Subway to Shea podcast. Anthony Rivera here with you talking about all the news and happenings surrounding that team from Queens, the New York Mets. Episode 188 from the Subway to Shea studios in my office. Make sure you're following Subway to Shea on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Subway to Shea. You can follow me at Ant Rivera 86, as well as subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you'd like to listen to the show. But if you want to be a part of the chat, you want to be a part of the conversation, you have to be subscribing on YouTube, and you can even chat on X as well. So make sure you're part of the live programming as we are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're getting to 950 or close to that, but we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So like the video, share it as much as you can. I got to do something about that countdown video because it's too slow. The music is very mellow. I almost fell asleep. And for some reason, I started this stream about a minute ago, and it said that there was traffic. I've never heard of that before when doing one of these. So hopefully the weather holds up as well, as it's raining where I am. So hopefully my internet holds up. But we are here to talk about the New York Mets. It's been a while since I came to you guys. I think the last time I spoke with you all was when Sean Manaea got hurt and Nick Madrigal was out for the season. So there's so much to get into, and I got my guy in here. It's been a while. It's been way too long, and I'm glad that I brought the name Sean Manaea because I think that was the last time I had my guy, T.O. Al Cintron from WFAN on the show. Al, the last time you were on the Subway to Shea podcast, we were talking about if the Mets should sign Sean Manaea or Hyun-Jin Ryu, and I'm glad we both went with Sean Manaea. And since then, the Mets went on a magical run. They went to within 2 games of the World Series. We got our jerseys that we've wanted with the New York script. So a lot of good things has been happening. So glad to have you on here. I know we started doing a little bit of a show on Uptown Sports TV with the Mets, and now you got your TOL with friends. We'll get into that a little bit later. But how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm good. The weather sucks, but I'm good. Maybe you need to put some congestion prices to fix the traffic that's going on with your stream. And by the way, the countdown clock I felt was off like the Royal Rumble clock. They say 2 minutes, but it's not even close to that. It's all over the place.
Yeah. It was all over the place. The music is super slow. I like that what they had there before the countdown, and now this whole change. I'm gonna have to come up with my own video and do a little bit of editing there. But Al, so much has been going on with the New York Mets, and today, and you know what, shout out to all of you that are in the chat here. We got 30 people to start off the show with us. Appreciate you all. Stanley Babbage, Green Machine, Patty and NYC, Jonathan's in here, got G Money Stacks, got Brad. Appreciate every single one of you for being a part of this show. Throw your comments, your questions in the chat. We'll be sure to get to as many of them as possible. We start off the show with the ending of an era. It only was 1 year, but it really was meaningful. The OMG era has come to an end. Jose Iglesias signing officially with the San Diego Padres on a minor league year deal, $3 million plus $1 million incentives if he makes the team. Last season with the New York Mets, batted .337, had 4 homers, 26 RBI, 6 stolen bases, and an .830 OPS, coming off the bench and eventually kind of getting a starting role at second base once Jeff McNeil went down. The guy created OMG, the song, the rallying cry for the New York Mets, the home run song for the New York Mets as well. Great on offense. We love the defense from him. Al, you know, what are your thoughts on Jose Iglesias, what he just provided to us last season?
I think they both benefited. I think him being in the New York market, he got his music out there, got a #1 smash hit. The team took off. The team vibed with it. The Latino culture, all the Latinos in the Mets, he benefited from it. So, I mean, they both did it. I was hoping they'd be able to trade Jeff McNeil this offseason to maybe open a spot for him. Unfortunately, they couldn't. And, you know, negative Jeff, happy Jeff, whatever you want to call him, right now is with the team, which I'm not happy about, but we'll get into that later. Good for him. He had a fantastic season. I thought he'd be a perfect fit for the Yankees because they're a hot mess at third base. but he goes to the Fathers on a minor league deal, which is crazy to me. He was looking for a 2-year major league deal. Boris is his agent. We all know how that's worked out unless your name is Juan Soto. It was a fun ride. It was a fantastic ride, but now it's time to move on.
Did the Mets to you make the right move here and not bringing him back? You know, David Stearns talked about roster flexibility. He talked about the youth. Is it time? And you know, we look back in the Wilpon days and days of past where a guy like Jose Iglesias, he may get a couple years. He may have gotten the deal that he wanted, and that may have been one of our big deals of the offseason. So, you know, we're seeing a different regime and a different run team with David Stearns, and you know, I trust what he's doing, and I think I'm okay with this move. I don't know how you feel about not bringing him back, but I understand why they're not doing it. And I'm okay going with the youth, which we're going to get into shortly.
I'm okay with it as well. At first, I wasn't. I thought his influence on the clubhouse, we all know what it was, him and JD Martinez. The minute they came up, the energy changed. Besides the meeting with Lindor and Nimmo speaking up, the energy changed. You know, they were having fun. The Mets were playing like they're. I'm allowed to curse on this, correct? All right, yeah, they were playing like a fresh inmate. You know, the assholes were tight in April and May. They were horrible. And then Iglesias and JD Martinez came in and loosened the clubhouse up, and they took off. So at first I wanted him back, but I'm like, nah, not for 2 years. And then it's the same thing I did with Vientos last year. It's time to see what these kids can do, sink or swim. And you want to find out what you have, because there's a whole bunch of infielders, middle infielders we have in the minor league system, and you got to figure out who's in and who's out. So I think this is the right thing to do, to find out what a Brett Baty can do when he's pushing the spotlight, which we've seen enough, 600, 700 at-bats it's been. And then let's see what Acuña could do, who's my preference to play second base.
Well, let's get into those guys right now. Luisangel Acuña versus Brett Baty here. So far in spring, Brett Baty has been playing very well. I mean, they have been playing multiple positions, second, third. I think he's playing a little bit at first base as well. They're going to try him out with. It has 8 hits and 18 at-bats, 2 homers, 3 RBIs, and a walk. Acuña, 2 for 13, an RBI, 2 runs, 2 stolen bases. Baty made a nice throw at third base on Sunday. I know Acuña got hit on the elbow. It looked like it was going to be something serious, but he's okay. He played third base the other day. And, you know, between the two of them, I know your preference is Luisangel Acuña, but to me, I don't know, at this point, it feels like the spot is Brett Baty's to lose.
Yeah, we've seen this before. Third base was his to lose. He lost it. Now we're going to see Brett Baty, his utility spot is his to lose. I honestly think this is a showcase to show other teams that he can play second, he can play at first, he can play third. Look what an addition will be to your club to try to, maybe make a move for a back end arm, back in the rotation type arm. I've seen it. He can kill it in spring training all he wants. He can kill it in winter ball. I don't care. He's got to get it done in the regular season, and he hasn't gotten it done. He's gotten the most opportunities out of all the baby Mets. He's gotten the most opportunities and failed the most. So if he can't do it, I'm giving him, if he does make the big club, April, and if he doesn't get it done in April, I don't care. I'm done. I don't need to see this again.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because we've seen, like you said, we've seen him hit in spring before. We've seen him hit down in AAA. I mean, he could be a minor league batting champion for all we know with as much as he's hitting. But it's like, is this real? Is this a mirage? He's come up, he had a good start, got hurt. And then, when he got the opportunity to take over for Eduardo Escobar, he wasn't able to hold on to it. And then Mark Vientos took his job away from him. So, this is really, I feel like, Brett Baty's last stand. And I don't care if the fact that he's coming off the bench or whatever, he now has to come up with the production that we are losing from Jose Iglesias last year. And I know Jose Iglesias is like 35, 36 years old. The guy hit 337. He was stellar on defense. And now Brett Baty has to do those things, whether coming off the bench or not.
Yeah, Brett Baty just has to have positive production. I don't know if he's going to hit 336 or whatever it was with Iglesias, have a 20-something game hitting streak that Iglesias had. I don't think he has to do that. He has to be a productive player on this team. He can't be a negative. If he's a negative, he's useless on this team.
Shout out to Green Machine here. Great comment here. Sad to see Iglesias go, but the positive is there's a pathway now for the younger players. Acuña, Baty, even mentioned Jet William, and that might otherwise not have been there. So the Mets mentioned and Stearns mentioned the roster flexibility and having that spot be open, whereas if you have a major league deal for Iglesias and he's not playing well, you kind of are stuck with him at least for a partial part of the season. Whereas, if Baty doesn't do well, you can send him down. You can bring up Acuña and things like that. And Jay Boggs says it there too. Acuña played only 14 games. He has a lot to prove as well, and he definitely does. The only thing I got to say about Acuña, though, is, he had to be put in one of the most toughest spots last season. And we saw the same thing happen to Baty, Vientos, Alvarez in 2022 to no avail. You bring in Acuña last season, taking over for an injured Francisco Lindor, where we didn't even know if Lindor was going to play anymore for the rest of the entire season. He comes in, and let's be honest, he's a huge part of the reason why this team got to the postseason.
And those 14 games were nothing to sneeze at. If you've never watched baseball before, and those are the 14 games that you watch, you'd have thought he was our everyday shortstop. He filled in for the guy who was their MVP of the National League, in my opinion, because he plays both sides of the ball, of the field, the offense and defense. He filled in perfectly. You talk about a pressure cooker. There was no bigger moment and bigger pressure than to fill in for Francisco Lindor, and Acuña proved that he was ready for the moment.
Good comparison from Jay as well. He says he was Timo Perez of 2024. Kind of was. Except
he runs the bases. Except he runs the bases. He runs the bases. He's not going to stop.
Very well. Yeah. Yamid Medina saying Marte, Taylor, Torrens, all right-handed. Baty, the only lefty off the bench, which I don't know. I think also Jesse Winker, who you got to be thrown in there, because Jesse Winker is going to be a part-time DH, part-time bench player. So you could throw Jesse Winker in there as well as someone coming off the bench. I don't know if there's anyone else that I can think of on this team. And I think Nick Madrigal, was he a righty too?
Righty. Yeah.
Righty. Yeah.
Yeah.
At that point, I don't even know if they care if they have as many righties or as lefties, but you got Taylor, who's a good backup. You got Torrens, who's a good backup. Winker, solid on the field. If you can get Marte healthy, which we're going to get into right now, that's another guy as well. But let's get into those two. Starling Marte and Brandon Nimmo have a little bit of injury concern here.
Oh, surprise.
Yeah. No, look, Starling Marte comes in and it sounds like everything's all good and well. He's dealing with sore knees. He's not been in any game action. Then you got Brandon Nimmo, who came into most of last season with plantar fasciitis. Gets the rest. Now he's dealing with a sore knee. He only got into one game of action. Look, Al, I'm a little bit concerned here. I don't know about you.
So am I. And last year, Brandon Nimmo was not the same player second half of the season, clearly dealing with injuries. He was fantastic in the first half of the season. Some would say co-MVP with Lindor the first half of the season for sure. Second half production was not there. He was battling injury, and he's our left fielder. So now what? Does he start the season as the DH and Winker plays left field? Because if you're trying to keep him healthy for the season, that's a smart thing to do. I'd rather the guys be injured now, though, than second half of the season and be like, what the hell? Especially after the trade deadline. Now you're screwed. So I think the smart thing to do is be smart about Nimmo. Play it slowly. Do not rush this man. If he needs to DS, I call it DS. If he wants to DS, let him DS. If that's what the best one to do, let Winker play left field. Marte, I'm sick of it. The guy's 56 years old. It's always something. Last year, he couldn't play the outfield. He was one of the worst in terms of ball chase rate, something like that in the outfield, right? There's a stat, something like that. I think we talked about that last season. He was one of the worst. How many balls dropped in front of him? So if he's not healthy, the Mets need to do everything in their power they can to move on from him and put somebody in here who actually is healthy, who can come off the bench and play the outfield as well.
Yeah, what should the Mets do at this point with Marte? Let him finish out the year, trade him. I know there was a lot of talks. I had Pat Ragazzo on in December, And, he had mentioned that there was a possible trade with Kansas City for a reliever. And there's been other talks about relievers as well. Something's got to give with Marte, because you can't have him sitting there with the contract he's having and just be, obviously it's going to be a part-time player, but you need more. You need more. And G-Money Stack says it's his last year of the deal, but I don't know. I don't know if Stearns and Cohen won't pull the trigger like they've done to players in the past who are in their last years of deals.
Yeah, I can see them saying, see you later. We're going to pay it off, or pay, a portion of it or whatever it is to get rid of him, or most of it to get rid of him, and put a productive, healthy body on this roster. Because last year was a nice, cute story. It was better than cute. It was amazing being there. You were there, so was I. I mean, it was awesome to be there at Citi Field. Outnumbering the Philly fans, 40-some thousand to 5. I mean, that was amazing that we, the playoff run and the magic that happened. But this year, the pressure is on. Nobody's going to be happy with a beautiful, same thing as last year, a nice little cute story, start off slow, which they cannot afford to do this year. Last year they did. You cannot afford that this year. So the Mets need to have the best guys, healthiest guys on this roster, and stop worrying about feelings.
A Green Machine, and I agree with Green Machine. The only reason why I think he's still a part of this team right now is he came up clutch in the postseason, with runners in scoring position, late game situations. Even the last game that the Mets needed to win to get in against Atlanta, he's the one who started the rally in the 9th inning. So there is a little bit of hesitation, I know, from the Mets to move on. They even told him, look, we're trying to trade you. All right, we're just being blunt honest with you. We're trying to trade you and facilitate a move here. But if you're here, we want you to be here and play here. But outside of that, we're going to try to trade you. So, it is what it is with Starling Marte. I hope that there's some type of resolution to this. And like you said, we can't have all these injuries on this team, especially when you look at Brandon Nimmo. And I think this is the big, I love Brandon Nimmo, but this is a guy that doesn't start spring until 2 or 3 weeks into gameplay, and he's still getting hurt. Like, I don't understand. Like, last year and the year before that, he didn't start until, I think, 3 weeks into games. And he started, and then we were like, oh, is he hurt? Is he all right? No, this is how I get myself ready. Well, I mean, you're going to have to do a little bit more work on your foot and on your knees if you're going to be injured this often.
I can't get over the fact that baseball players are the most fragile of all the sports. Football players, they train like crazy. They take beatings. Every hit's like a car wreck. Basketball, when they go up to the basket, land on a hardwood floor. Baseball players are the most fragile. Lat this, pulled ass muscle, hang toenail, out for the season, sprain eyelash. It's crazy. Just look what's happening with the Yankees. The injury bug is ripping through that roster right now. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think that's the reason why the Mets brought in Alexander Canario, right? Like, it doesn't make sense when you hear of that trade with the Chicago Cubs. Like, guys got no options. They're bringing in this outfielder. The first thought in my mind, and I don't know if it's the same in yours, is someone's hurt. Like, that's the first. Marte's not ready. Or they want to put Nimmo at DH and let this guy play in the outfield. That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Well, you mentioned Marte and his health. The thing is, and he came up clutch in the postseason. Maybe the plan is, let's get him to the second half of the season healthy. Because I think the platoon at DH, as long as they get 20, 25 home runs between him and Winker, that's perfect. That's that's perfect. You have Marte, who helped recruit Soto, by the way. You can see the chemistry they have, the connection they have in camp. Marte is good for the clubhouse as well. Maybe he fills that role that JD Martinez had and Jose Iglesias had, being on this team for a bunch of years now. So maybe the goal is, let's get him through April and May, especially April, because nobody likes being at Citi Field in April when the wind's ripping, it's 40 degrees, and his old ass knees are going to be, need some WD-40 on them sons of bitches. So maybe the goal is, we'll put him on the IL for most of April and see what happens after that.
Yeah, an interesting comment here from Yamid Medina saying Miami needs to add $25 million to not lose the money they get from the league. Give them Marte for $250K international money. I mean, I think the Mets would do that probably in a heartbeat. Maybe get something back in return. Is there a good reliever? There's always some good reliever that comes out of Miami, so maybe they could price one of those guys away.
Well, my favorite reliever right now, my favorite name I've seen so far this spring training is Junk. He pitches for the Florida Marlins, and I don't know if you watched the game, and it was on TV, the Miami Marlins, excuse me, and it said Alonso hits it off Junk because he hit the ball off him, and I chuckled like a third grader.
Well, who wouldn't? Really?
I chuckled. Steve Gelb, too, you could tell when he said it, he was like, oh boy, he caught himself.
I hope that hit your monologue when you went on to do WFAN.
No, I didn't. No. That I didn't use that one. I thought it was funny.
Green Machine saying bringing Nimmo along slowly is the key. It seems, believe it or not, he's played 151 or more games each of the last seasons. Doesn't always feel like it, though. Yeah, it doesn't.
No.
You know what's crazy, too, is he really did not have a good season last year, right? But still had 90 RBIs, right? It's crazy. You look at the two seasons that Nimmo had and that Pete Alonso had. And although Nimmo didn't have a great season, he was more clutch. I think he hit over 300 with runners in scoring position. Whereas Pete Alonso, the stats, if you look at peripherally, they look good. But then you look at him trying to hit in the clutch and with runners in scoring position, it just didn't work. So it's a tale of two seasons.
Well, Brandon Nimmo, like I said, go look at his first half numbers. I think he had like 60 RBIs or something like that at the All-Star break. And then he didn't have another one, which felt like forever.
Yeah.
And he stunk the second half of the season. Pete, you already know how I feel about Pete Alonso. Love him as a Met, but in the clutch last year, he bet on himself, and it sucked. That's why I didn't feel bad what was going on with the contract negotiations. He batted we went over this over and over during the season, like 200 with the base loaded or less, or running in scoring position, 200 as well. He was not clutch until he hit the home run off the Yankees closer now, Devin Williams.
Yeah, and it's going to be he's off to a good spring. We'll probably get into that a little bit later on. And hopefully he carries, this contract. He's got another opportunity now. Mm-hmm. Alonso has another opportunity to get himself right. And I think for him, and I've said this before in past podcasts, that, this offseason didn't work out the way he wanted to. One, because he's not really the elite first baseman that Scott Boras was putting him out there to be for the money that he wanted. And I think nowadays in baseball, all these teams and owners are looking for cheaper deals, more value. And that's why all these other guys got moved. Paul Goldschmidt going to the Yankees, Josh Naylor getting traded, the small deal for Christian Walker. You go next year, and now Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the top of the heap. I think that Pete will kind of fly under the radar, and they'll be like, you know what? We can't give Vlad for that price. We'll go a little bit cheaper and get Pete Alonso. And I think he'll still get a little bit. I think he'll do better next year if he has definitely he's got to have a better year than he did this year. But if he has a really good year, I think that he will benefit more in next year's market than he would have this one.
Well, you also got Murakami coming over from Japan as well. The 25, 26-year-old power hitter from Japan who's going to be above Pete Alonso. So Pete's got to have a monster season, and he's got to get it done in the clutch as well. And to make the postseason, have a monster postseason if he wants a guaranteed multi-year deal, not with an opt-out after each season.
We've talked about this offense, and it could be really good this year, but this team goes nowhere without the starting pitching. And on Monday, we got to see a nice little starting pitching from Kodai Senga. We got to see it from David Peterson as well, who came in relief. Senga pitched 2 innings. He was actually only supposed to pitch 1 inning on the field and then go to the backfields. But I guess he asked. I couldn't see the game on TV, and I was asking people why he stayed in. And I guess he asked to stay in. So he got 2 innings, gave up 2 hits, struck out 2, and then finished on the backfield. David Peterson comes in, 3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 5 strikeouts. I know it's only 1 game. I know it's not against elite talent, but these two are so important to this rotation now.
1,000%. Without these two, if these two go down, do the Mets trust the young guys they just cut right now, and Tidwell and Sproat to come up. I think they do, which is why I don't think they panicked when they came to the free agent market with Quintana was still out. That deal was a steal for Milwaukee. If he pitches anything they did last year, second half of the season for the Mets. So, but you cannot lose Senga again. He is the ace, quote unquote, ace of this rotation. With Minaya, who's already out, we can't have the walking wounded again pitching for this team. Well, we're not going to have the same luck we did last season. I'm sorry. The National League is stacked this season, top to bottom. The Central has a lot of young, hungry pups. The East has the Braves and the Phillies. The Nationals are not going to be a cakewalk. The Marlins, whatever, the doormat. And then you have the West. Corbin Burns is on Arizona. The Giants are going to be looking something that are going to be hungry. The Fathers are going to be hungry. And then you have the evil empire in the Los Angeles Dodgers. So the Mets cannot afford a slow start. They need as many healthy pitchers as possible, quality starting pitchers as possible, or else this might be one of the most disappointing seasons in Met history.
I talked about the last time we were here together doing a show. Did you ever think there would be a time where either of us would say how important David Peterson would be to this rotation? This second half, I don't know. He got a new hip and he's a new man. He's new Petey now with that new hip. Not only did he have probably outside of Sean Manaea, Peterson had the best year as a starting pitcher. Then to go into Milwaukee and have to get a 3-out save to close out a series, go to Philly and do what he did against Philly. I mean, that is first of all, it's outstanding. Secondly, if he can stay consistent and do anything like he did last year, we got a lefty on our hands.
Well, the second half of the season, he was a beast. I think he had, August or September, he was undefeated, close to a high 1 ERA, low 2. I mean, he was fantastic. He was the number 1 draft pick the Mets expected to get out of, I believe he went to Oregon, correct? University of Oregon. He was a Duck. So David Peterson was fantastic. This is coming from somebody, me, who didn't go to Peterson games. I got tired. Oh, he's pitching? Here's my tickets. Take them. Well, I didn't give a shit. I didn't want to go. I was tired of 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2. And next thing you know, 70 pitches in 2 innings. But he manned up and he owned it. And anybody that I love when one of the guys on my team shuts me up. And everybody knows I have a big mouth and I love to be right. But I love the fact that he proved me wrong. He proved a lot of us wrong. And he showed big balls doing what he did, especially in the postseason, that he can handle it and get the job done. And I think this season, David Peterson, we're looking at a 15-game win if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, and Green Machine says Peterson took huge steps last year. He's confident. They say southpaws sometimes take longer to figure out. Hopefully he has. The Mets won when he pitched last year. Nothing is worse to me than 2023 season tickets being a part of every Tyler McGill game. Absolutely every single Tyler McGill game I had to attend there. And that was probably one of the most rough things to ever experience in my life. But I digress on that. Jose Lopez Moya saying the Mets will sure miss what Iglesias brought to the team, chemistry and solid leadership. He goes on with the pitching staff saying as for the staff is all in shambles. I think that they are another injury away or one Senga injury away from really being in shambles, especially now that Jose Quintana signed with the Milwaukee Brewers. So, that good move for them, especially with them being in contention for the postseason in the Central and how great Jose Quintana pitched for us in the postseason. You look at this rotation now. You tell me, outlook right now, Senga, Peterson, Holmes, probably Blackburn and Canning are your 5 because Tyler McGill still has options. So I think if they're going to go with 5 to start the season, especially with the beginning of the season, them having so many days off, they go with the 5-man rotation. I think this is it. To me, this is somewhat concerning. I even with a healthy Senga, a healthy Peterson, a healthy Holmes, the Mets didn't really address what was the problem that happened at the end of the season, which was inning limits and stamina to end the season here, right? They need guys to go the distance.
Well, I mean, it's unfortunate. We all saw it coming, though, that Montas went down. And who knows when he's going to be back. he was going to be the Severino, and I actually thought if he can stay healthy, he can be better than what Severino was last year. But the Mets in April, you know how it goes across baseball: 5 innings, guys, 5 innings, 5 innings, and I honestly would trust McGill over those guys as much as it pains me to say it. I mean, Paul Blackburn, he was fragile when he came over to the Mets, and what's his name, Griffin Canning. That's another guy. He had a 6 ERA, 5 ERA. They're hoping that the pitching lab. I know some people can't stand that pitching lab. That some people are looking for an address to go over there and send hate mail. But to me, if I would rather McGill get the ball in April, and it pains me to say it because I'd rather ride the subway at 3 a.m. Than watching McGill start. And I'd rather do that. But it is what it is. So I'd rather give McGill a shot again because he did pitch well in September. Let's not forget that. He
gives us 1 month every season, right? Like the first 2 years that he got into the rotation, it was April. He gave us DeGrom-like numbers in April, and then he did that for us at the last month of the season in September.
Yeah, so let's start him, sit him for the whole season, and then bring him back the end of the season. So that way you get a good beginning of the season, a good end of the season, because everything in between of that is caca.
G Money Stag says David Stearns was on the Meet the Apple podcast, and he talked about how the word ace has been used too loosely. How do you feel about that statement?
I mean, I take a Garrett Cole, ace. I take a Max Zach Wheeler, ace. I take a Spencer Strider, ace. Corbin Burns, ace. So I don't think it's loosely. It's a guy that you're in a losing streak. He's your stopper, the ace of the rotation.
And we just don't have one. That's it. That at the end of the day, we just don't. As good as Kodai Senga could be, we just don't have that 1A guy. And Jose Lopez Moy saying the Mets have not had an ace starter since Doc Gooden. Right now, you have 5-inning starters that run out fast by the 6th inning. I understand it. Look, my generation of watching aces was Al Leiter, Johan Santana, right?
Jacob DeGrom. I mean,
The problem with Jacob DeGrom, and this is where his comment makes sense, is that, he was a 5-inning guy and he couldn't finish a season.
Yeah. So if that's the premise of that comment that Doc would go 8 or 9, then I get it. Nobody really does that anymore. Wheeler does it for the Phillies when they really need him to get it done. 7, 8 innings. Corbin Burns does it when they need him to get it done. Clayton Kershaw when healthy, he would do that as well. Except in Cole, he would do that as well. Those are bulldogs. Those are aces. Those are losing streak stoppers. I think Kodai Senga has the potential to be an ace. He was fantastic for the Mets year 1. Last year did no pitching, and maybe that'll help him this season. They're going to need him to be healthy, and being out last season could be a blessing in disguise.
It could be. Definitely could be. Shout out to Stan from Westport. Says, Ant, you're so right to discuss Peterson. Look at his record, ERA, etc. And he's versatile, as he said in that he can relieve and he put any spot at any time, which is important. That's what I think the biggest thing that David Stearns has done with the rotation and the bullpen is he's getting a lot of swingman, long relievers, guys that can change. Whether if we need a spot start, you could see a Budo, although he's going to be in the bullpen, but you could see a Budo do it. Canning can do it. Blackburn can do it. If they tried hard enough, I'm pretty sure Tyler McGill can do it. So the Mets have a lot of guys that they can throw in here. And that's the reason why I think that in my next topic is they got rid of Sean Reed Foley. Sean Reed Foley was a swing man himself. And he couldn't stay healthy, one. And there's too many guys emerging in this team. Max Kranick, another guy that could possibly make this roster this season, is having a great spring. So that's another guy that could do it. 2024, he was 1-2, 1.66 ERA, 25 strikeouts in 21 2/3 innings pitched. In his Met career, 3-4, 3.75 ERA. He wasn't bad. He just wasn't healthy. That was his problem. He could never stay healthy. He came over in that trade for Steven Matz. So what are your thoughts on the Mets letting Sean Reed Foley go?
That's simple. No sweat off my back. When he entered the game, I didn't feel, here we go. He's going to. Nah, I mean, I got great animation from him when he's on the mound. But other than that, it's no big deal to me that he's gone.
Yeah. No, and then the Mets, they also made a signing as well. They signed Jose Ureña He's 33, I think, years old. Yeah, 33 years old on a minor
Mm.
league deal, $2 million. If he makes the Mets last season 5-8, you look at the record, but whatever, 3.80 ERA. Alarming thing was only 70 strikeouts in 109 innings pitched, 96 mile per hour fastball. He's got probably has a chance either if he's making this roster, because I don't know if he has, I don't think he has any
Options.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's a good chance he makes this roster, or since he has on that minor league deal, he might be the Julio Teheran of the last season.
Yeah, he's what we call a depth piece. You can never have enough pitching depth. And, I think it's another David Stearns project. And you know how it goes with Stearns and the bullpen arms. If you're good, you stick around. If you stink, see you later. So I had no problem with this move. You can never have enough pitching depth. I don't think they want to put too much pressure on the kids right now at the gates, because I do see one or two of these kids second half of the season, especially if they don't get somebody at the deadline, because there's always a deadline. Met fans act like this is it. This is not it. The season hasn't even begun. We have the trade deadline. So let's take a chill pill, and before we start killing David Stearns, who in my opinion has built up enough equity after last season, so just let him cook. Let's see how everything goes, and he's going to cook.
Yeah, that team that we had at the beginning of the season last year with Zach Short, Joey Wendell, Tomas Nido, right? At the end of the day, even Brett Baty, at the end of the day, those guys were not around. Excuse me. Went to Mark Vientos, Jose Iglesias. He brought in Ryan Stanek. He brought in Phil Maton, who was good for most of the season. Did all these moves, and it helped them get to the postseason.
Take a sip of water, Ant. You got it. Yeah, I see. I don't want you to cough. It's all good. It's all good. That's why I said, you got the job done, you stayed. If you didn't and you weren't making big money, pretty much, you were gone. I like our bullpen this year. We'll see what happens with Nunez. I know he's coming off an injury. Hopefully he's with this big club. And the back end of the bullpen was Buto, Nunez, and Diaz. And now you add AJ Minter to this bullpen, which is a lefty that this team desperately, a reliable lefty that this team desperately needs, who knows the division, who I think can get the job done against, the Bryce Harpers of the world, the Matt Olsons of the world, the Freddie Freemans of the world. We're going to need that guy, whether it's in the regular season or the postseason in big at-bats. I like what he did with the bullpen this season. Again, it's David Stearns, and this is the part that pisses me off when it comes to this fan base. The guy did a fantastic job last season. It didn't look good in April and May, but the season doesn't end in May. And he picked up the pieces, got rid of the crap, and added pieces, and it all worked out.
No, yeah, they did, absolutely. And, there's a comment from Stan from Westport. Sproat may come up this season, but he needs to do much better in AAA than he did in 2024. I think he's going to be our Christian Scott from last
year. He'll be better than Christian Scott.
I'm just saying the way that they brought him up. I think that's the same.
Yeah, his stuff's electric. How many times have we seen a guy kill it in AA? Then in AAA he's so-so. Then he comes to the big leagues and he's a superstar. It happens. You just want to see him throw strikes. You swing and miss stuff. That's what you need in the major leagues. He has swing and miss stuff. Throw strikes, have control. And the guy's electric. Tidwell, if you watch him and Verlander next to each other, it's the same exact pitching motion. The ball just explodes out of his hands. The thing with Tidwell, he's got to throw strikes. That's been his issues, control issues. Those guys, if they throw strikes again, and they'll be with one or both will be at this club before the season's over for sure.
Yeah, Sproat most likely starting. I think Tidwell will be more of a reliever. It seems like he's more of a reliever type than being a starter. He's pitched pretty decently in spring. He had that immaculate inning the other day, which, is going to lead me into the next thing. And that is spring standouts this so far. What have you seen so far that you've liked? I know Clay Holmes has probably been the most, right? 6 innings pitched so far. Only he's given up 1 hit, 1 walk, and has 5 strikeouts.
Yeah, he's going to be what Michael King was to the Padres. That's what exactly was going to be. I think Clay Holmes has the ability and the stuff. I said it on the fan. I think he wins 15 games as well this year. I think he's out to prove to not only to the Yankees, but to the rest of Major League Baseball that I'm a starter and this is what I'm here for. And I think his familiarity with some of the guys he's been teammates with in the past. I think being in New York already, he's not afraid of the spotlight. He's not gonna wilt under the pressure. For me, and I don't have an iPhone, so my biggest surprise of the spring I'm happy about Siri, and that's what's going on. Jose Siri, he has the potential easily with Juan Soto in that dugout to help him with his discipline. 20, 25 home runs and play Gold Glove center field. This could be the steal of the offseason.
Yeah, if he can bring his average, and I don't know if you're an average guy, I still am. I still like to see
So do I.
above 240 average. If he can, hit a little bit of average and have that pop like he's shown, he's already hit 3 home runs this spring with a lot of men on base.
I think he's got 4.
Does he got 4 now?
I think he's got 4. Yeah,
but yeah, he's been hitting them with guys on base. He's been, hitting very well there. Juan Soto, as advertised, he's got 2 home runs already. Pete Alonso taking walks. He's got 5 walks in spring. He's laying off those sliders.
Hanging out with Juan Soto's rubbing off on him. That's what's going on there.
The guys that the Mets brought in late last season, Torrens and Winker, they've looked good so far this spring.
Torrens has been awesome. He's looked really, really good as well.
Yeah, no, yeah. And what I like is the pitching, right? We talked about Clay Holmes, David Peterson, and Senga having good starts so far, but Brandon Sproat looked impressive in his first outing. Blade Tidwell's looked good. Max Kranick, even Dom Hamill, he's pitched 3 innings. He's only given up 1 hit, and he has 4 strikeouts. So these are things to look forward to. I don't know if you saw on Friday, they brought in Luis Moreno to close out the game. Now, he hasn't been pitching great, but he pitched 2 innings to close out a game, 6 strikeouts, 6 up, 6 down, all swinging.
No, I didn't see it. Yeah. I did not see that on Friday. Yeah. So how old is he? Is he a young kid or?
I think he's young. I think he's a part of the farm system. I don't remember them signing him.
Yeah, I've never even heard of it until you just brought it up, to be honest with you. Spring training baseball to me is like after the first inning, okay, I'm ready to move on. I don't want to see a guy wearing number 89 versus a guy wearing number 66 with no name on the back. I'm over it. I'm ready for the regular season. So again, David Stearns, he has an ability to find these guys, whether through the draft or off the scrap heap, find the guys to plug them in, and they're very productive.
Yeah, that's been his thing. And I like to see when he does that. There's some comments in here from the chat. Shout out 94 people in the room right now. Appreciate you tuning in with me and Al. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page as well. And follow Al. Al, you changed your tag, man. I was looking for you the other day, and I didn't realize that you changed it.
Yeah, it was long overdue. The fact that, on the fan, I always say it's your favorite deal. Al Cintron, it's Theo Al, my nephews. It just made sense. So it's a tribute to my nephews. And I had to do it. It's long overdue. Now, whether I stay in the New York City market, we'll see. Maybe I have to change it, but hopefully I'm here for good.
Hopefully, man. We can't have you leaving.
I don't want to go.
We go to the chat here. Jose Lopez Moya saying the only problem with Stearns is that he loves diving into the MLB dumpster scrap heap to get very cheap, low tier players.
Who cares if it's successful? I don't really care. He can go to the junkyard and go pull a pitcher out or a play out. If it works out, it works out. That's it. It is what it is.
If it works, it gets them to within 2 games of the World Series. I mean, I can't even complain about that. Green Machine saying Stearns brought Milwaukee to the postseason every year. Let the guy do his job. He's forgotten more about baseball than most fans ever knew, or he knows more about baseball. I think that was the comment there. Stanford West.
Cheers to you, because I 100% agree with him or her. I don't know if that's a man or a woman, so I just agree with the person.
Stan from Westport, you're right about AA versus AAA versus MLB. This comment you made earlier. Look at Acuña. He didn't do that well at Syracuse, but looked great with the Mets.
Yep, exactly. When the lights shine the brightest and you got to fill in for the MVP of the team, he got it done. There's no bigger spotlight than that. If he would have stunk, I don't think the Mets make the postseason.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Game for War saying Stearns be like, why bring in an ace and everyone say how awesome he is when I can bring someone who is broken, and if he has a good year, everyone will say how awesome I am.
Oh no, I don't think he's that self-absorbed. Come on now, jeez. Nah, come on, man. Let's not kill the dude. The dude's a fan like Steve Cohen, man. I trust him. I trust Steve. I trust Alex. I trust the organization. I've never trusted the Mets in my life since the '86 days. And then when they dumped Darryl, I lost all faith in them. And we know what happened with the coupons. I trust what's going on here. You got guys that are fans and want to win.
Stan from Westport. Alonso is a different player, totally different approach. Pete may hit only 20 to 30 home runs, but he thinks he'll hit 300. I don't know about that. Like his best year, what was 275?
Yeah, 274, 275. It was around that point. Listen, if Pete Alonso hit 300, Jeff McNeil's going to win MVP.
The G Money Stack saying David Stearns is not Frankie Coupons, which is
bang.
Yeah,
bang,
straight out bang right there, man. Wow,
100% when it comes to that. Listen, go look at the 2016 star opening day lineup, and then see if you still want to complain.
How about the 2015 opening day lineup?
Wait, 2015's the World Series year. That's John Mayberry Jr. batting cleanup. That's Eric Campbell playing first. Who else was on that roster? I mean, it was disgusting.
Besides Wright and Murphy, and who else? They had it. That Granderson was on that team. Duda was playing.
There was no reason to go to the ballpark, and the fact that team strung around, and then we know what happened when they got Cespedes. Like they did. What happened. But the beginning of the season, when your cleanup hitter is John Mayberry Jr., it's not looking good.
Opening days with Colin Cowgill, and the list goes on and on and on. What was it? Andres Torres. The list goes on, man, of the big names that the coupons brought us.
How easy we forget, and you brought up Jose Iglesias. If the coupons are running the ship, Jose Iglesias would have been on the cover of the yearbook and on the cover of the program, on the tickets. They had a big press conference. They would have had Iglesias T-shirt day. He would have been forgetting. He would have been the guy.
Yeah. No, you're.
Never forget where you came from, Met fans. Come on now.
Yeah, that's why this Iglesias move, it sucks that we don't bring him back. I understand the move, and I understand what they're trying to do. I mean, how long from 2022 we were talking about let the kids play, let the kids do this. If we're not going to trade him, let's see what they got from him, and they didn't do it.
From what I heard, they were good with a 1-year deal, major league deal at that 1-year deal. He wanted a multi-year deal, and the Mets said, "Kick rocks." That's what it is. He look in the mirror, blame yourself, blame your representation. Scott Boras. Again, if your name's not Soto, you pretty much got screwed the last year and a half.
Yeah, absolutely. Mets roster cuts as we wind down the show here. I do have a graphic here of the Mets roster cuts. Big names that are going down, obviously Dom Hamill, Brandon Sproat, who we talked about, and Blade Tidwell. Those guys will definitely be seeing at some point. When you look at the position players, you got Ryan Clifford, Drew Gilbert, as well as Jet Williams. I don't know if we'll see them this season, but barring any injury, those guys better be ready to go. That's for sure.
If we see any of those guys, the IL is going to have 10 to 15 regulars on it. So let's hope we don't see those guys this season unless they're absolutely tearing it up. And let's say, a Baty stinks or Acuña for some reason goes backwards, he stinks. Then I could see one of them coming up and trying to help this big club. An outfielder, Brandon Nimmo can't do it. You bring some Drew Gilbert up, and go from there. But if we see these guys on this roster this season, there's a shitload of injuries with this Mets team.
Any of these guys, we already talked about the pitching. Any of these guys in the position players that you're interested in watching grow here. I know, Kevin Parada has kind of fallen off after being, drafted. What was it? 2022, the first round. He's kind of fallen off, but Ryan Clifford is a guy that if Pete Alonso goes somewhere else, or even if they decide that they're not going to give Vladimir Guerrero, this is next kid in line. To bring up here, Drew Gilbert in the outfield as well, but he's coming back from injury. Any of these guys, Alex Ramirez, he's also kind of fallen off the top prospect list.
It's Ryan Clifford for me. Steve Cohen's wallet. They're hoping that he kills it in the minor leagues, and let's say Pete kills it himself and he walks away and gets the multi-year deal that he wants, guaranteed multi-year deal, that they could just plug in Ryan Clifford and then go fill the needs with the rest of this roster going into next season.
Yeah, and I would assume as well that we could be seeing some of these guys on the trading block when the Mets need an ace type starting pitcher at some point.
Yeah, or whether it's a big bat that becomes available, you can join this roster. Listen, this lineup right now, if you go top to bottom, and I did it on my show on Saturday, every guy in this lineup has the potential minimum to hit 20 homers. Minimum. Everyone. Alonso. Even as much as I hate Jeff McNeil, when he starts hitting them out, he gets 15 homers. And you got Lindor, we know. Vientos, we know. Alvarez has the power to do it. Nimmo can do it. Siri can do it. Soto, forget about it. Look at this lineup. This is the most stacked lineup since the 06 Mets. I'm not going to say it's better because the 06 Mets actually got it done. That lineup got it done. Got to the postseason, got to a Game 7 at NLCS. But this lineup has the potential to be better than that 06 lineup.
And that lineup was probably one of the best ones I've ever seen until that, NLCS. But
I was there for that. Please don't remind me.
Yeah, that's when everything changed for me as 100% believing in a team. Where I thought I thought there was no doubt that team was winning a World Series in 2006. Because first off, that lineup was stacked, like you mentioned, and there wasn't really much movement in that lineup either. Everyone had their role. Reyes at the top, LaDuca second, Beltran third, Delgado 4.
Yeah,
very underrated. And then you had Wright 5 and so on and so on. But you look at this lineup and they could be, top there with everyone being healthy. You talk about Nimmo being healthy. You even got to talk about Francisco. Let's be honest. Francisco, back injuries, Al, we talked about it off air.
I know.
Francisco Lindor has got that back, I hope, is 100% healed.
But the one thing I will say, Anthony, is that unlike other seasons, I think this season Lindor will get maintenance days. I think that he's not going to be playing. Get used to it, Met fans, and I'm not going to kill him for it. The guy plays 160 games. When he broke his finger, he was still out there. The back injury, he had to miss some time. You want to get him into the postseason healthy. You want to get to the postseason first, but you want him to be healthy. And I think this season, you'll start seeing him get more maintenance days, the day off, day game after night game. There's no reason for him to be out there. Don't even bother pinch hitting him. Just let him get the rest he needs so that he's available all season long. And the one thing, going back to the 06 season, we complain about this pitching staff. Go look at the names in the 06 pitching staff. There weren't a bunch of aces on that pitching staff as well.
Nah, Tom Glavine's ace days were long gone before he came to the Mets. Pedro's were as well. Pedro,
he was hurt.
Pedro was he a 3 on the Red Sox at the time they won the World Series?
Yeah, I think they had Lester. And they had
Schilling. Low, Pedro, Tim Wakefield. I think that was the rotation back then. Yeah, there you go.
And then with the Mets, he wasn't available at the postseason stretch. Remember, he wasn't there. El Duque got hurt. It was John Maine. It was
that was actually the killer. El Duque getting hurt before his game
right before the playoff
was the killer.
Yeah, that was a huge loss, and yet they got to Game 7, and it was harder to make the playoffs then. So can we be patient with this pitching staff? And like I said, David Stearns has shown us that if it's not working, he'll do whatever he has to do to make sure it does work.
As we wrap up this show here, G-Money Stacks giving us a little update. Tomorrow night, Houston Astros Mets, 6:10 p.m. on SNY. Don't forget to watch. They've been really having the games on, and now you can buy the Mets app or the SNY app to be, if you don't even have cable, you can get them and watch them that way. So check it out. A little bit of news and happenings. The Mets are bringing back $5 Tuesdays. They got Sundays. They're doing all these little things to make sure that fans come to the ballpark. I don't know if you saw that they just opened up. They're opening up a store or like some kind of
Union Square.
That Union Square, it's like a store, but also has like games and all this stuff that you can do. So I think it opens on Friday, so people can check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a look, but I'm a Fanatics guy. I just go on Fanatics. I don't like dealing with the crowds. I just get what I get. I know my sizes, and I'm done. Mail it to me, drop it off. I'm good. I'm good. But the Mets, they're looking to increase the attendance. 18 for the payroll is a disgrace. So this season, he went out and spent money. Juan Soto's here. There's no excuses not to show up to Citi Field, especially if this team is in the hunt for the beginning of the season.
I think if the area, and they're going to clean up that area, like get rid of the chop shops and stuff. But if there was more to do around the area, I think it would be a whole lot better and have more people intent. You saw, obviously with the $5 Tuesdays they had last season, they're going to do the Family Sundays, which I think is like 4 tickets for $50. And then they always had the block parties. I don't know if you went to any of the games where they had the block parties outside the parking lot. Those were fun and a lot of fans were out there having a good time. So more things like that. Cohen's listening. Cohen understands the situation. He knows what he's going to have to do to get fans in the stands.
Yeah, the chop shop and shit, that's not going to get done for about a decade. It'll probably take a decade to get that whole area cleaned up. So Juan Soto will be, 36 when it's all said and done, when this is all ready to rock and roll. But I do love the block party idea for sure. That everybody was out there having a good time. As a DJ, they were giving out prizes. Everybody was hanging out. Alumni was hanging out. People in relationships who didn't want to go home to their loved ones. They just wanted to hang out and have a good time. So it was the vibe outside the stadium was really, really good last season after games, especially after a win.
Absolutely. And the last thing, Al, is you and me have talked about this for so long. It was finally getting those jerseys, those New York script jerseys. We kind of got it
We started it. Yeah, we started it.
We wanted those 87 type script jerseys back, and they finally gave it to us. What do you think of? I feel like it's missing. I like them, but I feel like it is missing that gray inside of the lettering, just having it being the blue and orange. But I'm just happy to see them back.
It'll happen. This is the first version of this jersey. We all know it's about revenue. They'll make multiple jerseys. I would not be shocked if this jersey ends up being pink outlining for Mother's Day and then blue outlining or inside, whatever. They'll fix it up for Father's Day. They'll work it out. And I think next season you can see the gray or the white to make the letters and numbers pop. It'll get there. This is, like they say, this is the, what am I looking for? The word I'm looking for. This is the, when it's the first option, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm having a brain fart. I've been up since I had my show yesterday. Baby, I didn't sleep. There you go.
Version, yeah.
It's like the quote unquote rough draft. We'll see how I'm getting one, whether it's a Lindor or a custom one. I'm getting one. And then when they do give us what we want, the gray, then nobody will complain. Then again, somebody will complain and say we need it in white. There's no white, because I'm hearing people complain about this jersey now. Can we shut up? It's better than that bright ass, orange ass jersey that we had. I mean, those things are disgusting.
Yeah, man. I even got myself the City Connect. I like them. I like the City Connect.
I'm gonna get one. I didn't get one. I got the hoodie, I got the hats, but I don't have the jersey, so I'll probably get one of those as well.
Actually, more than the jersey, the bomber jacket that they had last year is probably my favorite thing that they came out with. Yeah, I love the color.
That was really nice
stuff. Even the new away jerseys, they have the piping. Like we're getting closer and closer to the '86 reunion again, and I feel like we're gonna get racing stripes again at some point. It's getting closer and closer. They're tiny right now, but I feel like they're gonna start inching out and getting bigger soon.
Well, next year is the 40th anniversary of the '86 Mets. That might be the last time we see a lot of these guys together, because they're all getting older, and it's going to break my heart when those guys start falling one by one. Unfortunately, we've lost a couple of guys already from that squad. Gary Carter, shout out to the kid, Met legend. Losing him was, that one hurt. I'm like, damn, that's somebody from my childhood. That's my favorite team of all time, the '86 Mets. So next year, I would not be shocked if we get the '86 version jerseys again. So you could jump on those. A Lindor, a Soto '86 jersey will be straight up fire. That'll be awesome to have. So I expect, next season we'll have multiple versions of jerseys that'll please all the fans.
Green Machine and G Money Stacks came up with the word. It was prototype was the word that we were looking
for.
There
you go. And not John Cena, because that was his first name in wrestling. That's it right there. And the one thing I will say about the jersey, the '86 version, let's hope we don't get the injuries that we had in '87.
Absolutely. No. That's the one thing. I know everyone freaks out about that. Hopefully we don't get, because I know the City Connect jerseys, they started off with like 6-7 losses in a row before we started winning with them. And everyone's like, stop putting those, even the black ones, stop wearing the black ones. We keep losing on those jerseys. So look, we'll see what happens. Al, let everyone know you got your show coming up, TOL with Friends. Tell everybody about that. Tell everybody about your next time being on WFAN, man.
Well, I got tomorrow, Theo Allen Friends. It'll be me, Anthony Gallo, Pete Kennedy can't be there, and Hector's going to join the program. So around 8-ish on Uptown Sports Network, Uptown Sports TV. I'm so sleepy right now. And then I'll be on the Fan Saturday after the Nets post game till 1 a.m. And then next week I'm on the Fan, my first weekday show, time spot, 7 p.m. till midnight, Wednesday on the Fan. And then as well, the next Saturday, 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. 888-808-1019. Wake your asses up with your favorite Theo on WFAN, 1019 FM, and free on the Odyssey app. Sound like a professional now, huh?
Yeah, man. You got it all locked down from the beginning all the way to now. That's sweet, man. I appreciate you for being on here. We'll definitely do this again soon.
For sure. And I want to tell you, we're going to do a Met one, a Yankee one. And we're also going to try to do something from the Subway Series, both venues. So if you're down to be a part of the project, let me know and we'll figure everything out.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. You can tell me off air. You can text me. You got my number.
You got it.
All right, Al Cintron of WFA and your favorite Theo Al here. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this show. 111 people in the house. Thank you so much. Make sure you like the video.
Hit the like, subscribe. Let's go.
There you go. You heard it. You heard it from Al. Make sure you're following Al as well. You can follow me on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Subway to Shea. Follow me, Ant Rivera 86, as well on X. And subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you prefer to listen. But if you want to be a part of this chat, like a lot of people were today, you have to be on YouTube or even being a part of X. You can listen to it there as well. But that wraps up Subway to Shea podcast. For Anthony Rivera, for Al Cintron, always remember, let's go Mets.